Imagine a nation, long chained to its colonial past, finally standing up and saying, enough. In 2025, Burkina Faso is rewriting its destiny, and the world is watching. How did a former French colony, often overlooked on the global stage, spark a seismic shift in Africa's relationship with Europe? And why is France, once the mighty colonial overlord, now being pushed out, accused of betrayal and subversion? Today, we dive deep into a real story of broken alliances, growing national pride, and a future being forged under the Sahel sun. This is not just history in the making, it's history roaring back to life. When Burkina Faso, then called Upper Volta, gained independence from France in 1960, the dream was clear: freedom, dignity, self-rule. But the reality was murkier. France never truly left. Through economic control, military partnerships, and cultural influence, Paris kept a firm, if invisible, hand on the country's future. French troops stayed. French companies mined the land. French became the language of power and education. In short, independence looked more like reshuffled colonialism. To many Burkinabe, especially the younger generation, this lingering dominance became unbearable. The question lingered: were they truly free? In the 1980s, a fiery young captain named Thomas Sankara dared to challenge this system. Renaming the country Burkina Faso, land of upright people, he launched a radical agenda of self-reliance and anti-imperialism. He pushed for agrarian reform, banned luxury imports, and championed women's rights. But his dream was cut short, assassinated in a coup many believe had shadowy foreign fingerprints all over it. The message was clear: true freedom was dangerous. Sankara died, but his legacy refused to be buried. Decades later, his speeches went viral on social media. His face appeared on graffiti, murals, t-shirts. A new generation, fed up with unemployment, corruption, and dependence on foreign aid, began to ask, what if Sankara was right? Calls to revisit his ideals grew louder, especially among students and young military officers. Public debates questioned the role of the CFA franc, the presence of French troops, and the domination of Western NGOs. Bit by bit, a revolutionary spirit was reawakening. Fast forward to the 2020s. A new wave of unrest swept Burkina Faso. Islamist insurgencies ravaged villages, displaced millions, and shattered any sense of security. Amid the chaos, old resentment toward France reignited. Many Burkinabe believed France was playing a double game, pretending to fight terrorism while quietly profiting from instability. Theories circulated that France's military bases were less about protection, more about projecting influence. Every attack that wasn't stopped, every village left to burn, deepened the suspicion. By late 2022, the pressure exploded. In Ouagadougou, protesters stormed the streets, chanting, "France dégage! France, get out!" Amid the upheaval, a young military officer, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, rose to power. His message was blunt.
Either we accept to fight, or we remain slaves forever. I told you, once. Recently, there is a so-called NGO. It's not even an NGO. Because NGO stands for non-governmental organization. They are not non-governmental because they are funded by a federal budget, by a state.
Burkina Faso would reclaim its sovereignty, militarily, economically, and culturally. Under Traoré, Burkina Faso moved with unprecedented speed. In 2023, the government ordered French troops to leave within a month, an unthinkable act just a few years earlier. French diplomats were expelled. Accusations flew. France was allegedly conspiring with neighbors like Benin and Ivory Coast to undermine Burkina Faso's new leadership. French media outlets like Jeune Afrique were suspended for sowing chaos. The message from Ouagadougou was clear. This was no longer a French playground. Meanwhile, cultural decolonization took center stage. Judges swapped their European-style robes for colorful traditional Faso Danfani cloth. National pride surged. Burkina Faso wasn't just severing political ties, it was reclaiming its identity. As Burkina Faso slammed the door on France, it opened another to Moscow. In early 2024, President Traoré signed a security pact with Russia, bringing in military advisors, equipment, and promises of economic cooperation. Critics cried foul, warning of replacing one form of dependency with another. But for many Burkinabe, Russia represented a fresh start, an ally that hadn't yet stained the land with colonial blood. The shift wasn't just military. In April 2025, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger formed the Confederation of Sahel States, an alliance aimed at creating new trade routes independent of French influence, looking north to Morocco and the Atlantic Ocean. The message was undeniable. Africa was rebalancing. The old order was crumbling. Money is power, and France's grip on its former colonies was never tighter than through the CFA franc. Tied to the euro and controlled via the French treasury, this currency shaped the economies of 14 African countries, including Burkina Faso. Critics say it stifled growth, enabled capital flight, and forced dependency. In markets across Ouagadougou, merchants complained of unfair prices and sluggish business. Economists warned that any country wanting to break from the CFA risked inflation, isolation, and worse. But in 2025, Burkina Faso announced plans to ditch the CFA altogether. A new national currency is reportedly in the works. It's a bold gamble. If it succeeds, others may follow. If it fails, the consequences could be dire. The battle isn't just on the ground, it's in the media. Western outlets painted Traoré as a strongman, a populist sliding toward dictatorship. African platforms hailed him as a patriot, completing Sankara's mission. On TikTok and WhatsApp, debates raged. Who gets to define democracy? Who controls the narrative? The Burkinabe government launched its own media reforms, prioritizing local languages and histories. Foreign correspondents faced scrutiny. In a world where perception is power, controlling the story became as vital as controlling the borders. Burkina Faso's bold gambit carries enormous risks. Security remains fragile. Economic hardship bites deep. International isolation could make life even harder for ordinary people. Yet in the dusty villages and bustling markets, there's a palpable sense of hope. Hope that for the first time in generations, Burkinabe themselves might truly hold the pen that writes their future. Will Burkina Faso's defiance inspire a wave of decolonization across Africa? Or will new alliances bring fresh chains? The world is watching, but for once, Burkina Faso is not waiting for anyone's permission. This is not just the story of Burkina Faso. It's the story of every nation that dreams of standing tall, even when the world would rather see it kneel.